But you have to participate in love's thoughts. You really do, because your thoughts are energy, and
Yeah.
prayer is
Mhm.
energy, and your intent is energy. And so, how we utilize our energy every day is so important.
Hey there,
We are.
beautiful souls. It's your girl, Allie, and we're here for another episode of Living Life Consciously. I have a very special guest lined up for you today who's had an NDE, and I just cannot wait to explore that story with her. So without further ado, let me introduce this handsome fella sitting right next to me. Say hello.
Hello, everybody. It's Justin with Living Life Consciously. Glad to be here as always, and I'm very much looking forward to this conversation.
Same. And over here, we have our guest, Miss Megan Brown. Would you like to say hi to our audience before I introduce you formally?
Hello. It's so good to be here. Thank you so much, Allie and Justin, for having me. I really appreciate it, and giving me the opportunity to not only speak about my near-death experience, but about love. And love is needed on this planet so desperately as it's needed on every other planet. So, where would you
Absolutely.
like to begin?
All right, let me give the audience a little intro for you in case in case somebody has never come across your content or seen you online before. Is that okay?
Absolutely. Thank
All
you.
right. And this is straight from her website, which is 5daysinheaven.com. So Megan was raised on a farm in Studio City, California, where she was brought up in the Roman Catholic Church. She attended Mass until after a personal trauma in her early 20s, she became an atheist/agnostic. Megan has never written a book before. In 2007, she had a near-death experience where she was ordered by God to write a book and share some of the messages he and others gave her while she was in heaven. Though Megan has no credentials as a writer, she definitely has a personal experience in believing God and heaven were a myth. Megan returned from her 5 days in heaven with the gifts of clairaudience and clairvoyance, giving her the ability to do readings with a heightened perceptive ability to hear, see, feel, smell, and touch. She uses her gifts in intuitive readings, during which she conveys heaven's messages to the individual soul with whom she is connecting. She offers readers over the phone and through FaceTime. Readings over the phone and through FaceTime. Her interest now as a survivor is to share her story when the opportunity presents itself. Just like it's happening right now. So
Yeah.
let's jump straight in. You've got a book that's called A Catalyst, My 5 Days in Heaven. And like I just
Yes.
mentioned, on your website, you offer spiritual advising and intuitive readings. You can be found on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter. And if you would like to purchase her book, it could be done so on her website, which again is 5daysinheaven.com or on amazon.com. And I'll keep all these links in the description below. So let's jump right in. Megan, where do you want to start?
Okay, well, I want to add to that. There's another
Okay.
book that I am coming out with on 11/11. So in
Love
about
the synchronicity of that date. Synchronicity.
yeah. Well, you know what's funny is that the first book that God ordered me to write came out, and I didn't even plan it, on 11/11 last year. So I
Really?
went,
So this is the
yeah.
second
So
year
this
in a
one I'm
row.
planning. Yes. So I'm doing 11/11, and it's called Love's Recipes. So as I was going through my divorce, it was a really tough divorce. And in my meditation one day, heaven guided me and just simply said, start writing about love
Mm.
every day. And I thought, oh my gosh, I'm not feeling like, I want to but you have to participate in love's thoughts. You really do, because your thoughts are energy, and
Yeah.
prayer is
Mhm.
energy, and your intent is energy. And so, how we utilize our energy every day is so important.
That's so true. And that's something that we speak about all the
All
time.
the
We're
time.
really big about enforcing the whole, thoughts become things, where your thoughts go, energy flows. You got to be
Hmm.
a conscious creator and continuously keep in the forefront of your mind what you're thinking and where you're spending your energy. what, not everything is deserving of your energy or your thoughts, or your creative abilities. So I just always tell people, like, spend your energy like money, in the sense that, like, you don't go and blow $500 at the candy store, or maybe you do. I don't know. But, spend your money or your energy wisely, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And like I still work with this. I struggle with it in moments where I go, but this is supposed to happen like right now. And then I have to tell myself, oh, well, apparently it's not, because it's not happening right now.
Hmm.
And so I still have to like put the pause button on and say, well, Megan, it's in heaven's time. And heaven is not a religious thing, by the way. So
Okay.
it's not a religious place. It's a planet. I want to make this very clear up front, because for those who are atheists, or for those who are like, ooh, sounds too religious, that's what it used to mean to me, was that it was a religious location. And I was so anti-religion, starting at age 20, a few weeks before my 21st birthday.
Okay.
And then it just became, a location. And the
Okay.
location is where love resides. And I've described heaven as being the bar scene in Star Wars. And it is just like that.
Really?
Because there are souls from every other planet that are coming in, and it's like their way station. All right, we're hanging out until we reincarnate somewhere, wherever it is. It could be back on their planet. Maybe they're, getting sent to Earth. I don't know. So I did see that, and it was absolutely amazing.
I'm sitting here picturing that scene where they're all sitting at the different little tables and they're drinking their weird drinks, and there's
Yeah.
like card games happening, and there's like people
And the clarinet
dancing.
players.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Clarinet players, right?
Yeah.
So how did
Yeah.
you transition from being raised as the Catholic, as was I? So I feel like you and I are relating on that a lot right now. How did you transition from being a Catholic to being agnostic? Where did your NDE fit into all of that? Let's explore that.
Yeah. Okay. So what happened was, about a month and a half before my 21st birthday, I got raped. So
Oh my.
having grown up Roman Catholic, it was like, oh, okay, there's no God. Because my background was very dysfunction junction. Okay. So I grew up in
Okay.
dysfunction junction, which a
Gotcha.
lot of us do. I'm not I'm not an anomaly. But so from that background to having been raped, and like going through what I went through in that experience, okay, then I just went, all right, yeah, there's nothing. So I really thought
Wow.
there was nothing. And then, occasionally that Catholic guilt would come in, and I'd go, oh, what if there is? Fuck it. It's not.
Right.
It's not happening. And so I didn't believe in anything. But then I got married, and for 6.5 years, everything was just honky dory as far as I was concerned. My husband went off to work. I got to be a stay-at-home mom. It was all good. And then I worked out. I was in phenomenal physical shape. I was like, I was privileged to have
Okay.
that life,
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, one night I go to bed and I get this really bad pain in my stomach.
Hmm.
And I'm trying to do yoga positions, and I'm trying to
Work that energy
relax.
through, right? Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, as an atheist, relax as an atheist.
Yeah.
What's going on?
Uh-huh.
But then, long story short, I get put into the hospital, and I had to get transferred to another hospital. And then they took 3 or 4 days
Oh
to
my
finally
goodness.
diagnose me as being
That's a
in
long
kidney failure.
time to be in pain. Oh my gosh, kidney failure. And that's something so crucial. That's like
Yeah.
emergency status.
Yeah. That sounds horrible.
Right. Right.
Wow.
It was awful. So it turned out that I had still have a rare autoimmune disease called TTP-HUS, thrombocytopenia purpura hemolytic uremic syndrome. So
That's a
Wow.
the
mouthful.
kidney
That's
failure,
exactly what I was
it
thinking.
is. It is, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And so kidney failure is the side effect. And I had a very extreme case of it. And it started off with C. diff colitis. So then it went into TTP-HUS. And then I got HIT, heparin-induced thrombocytopenia. And the heparin was to keep my blood thin because my fibrinogen level was so high. And the heparin turned on me after they'd been giving it to me for like 2 or 2.5
Did you have an
weeks.
allergic reaction to it? Is that what you mean?
Yes. So
Oh.
heparin-induced thrombocytopenia means that your platelets and your blood, it turns on you again. So they were checking my platelets every day
Okay.
because of the TTP that I already had that they'd established. And so then they noticed, oh my God, her platelets are dropping. Well, we're giving her heparin. And she didn't react to that immediately. Oh gosh, okay, we got to get her off of this. So they put me on another blood thinner. And then I had to stay in the hospital for another month. I mean,
Wow.
it was horrible. Yeah. So in that period of time, and with HIT, people can become, well, they can die from it, number one.
Okay.
And number two, they can have, body limbs amputated. I mean,
Oh, wow.
it's horrific what can happen.
Mm.
So I actually, it's pretty miraculous what happened to me and how I came out of it. Considering I come from this Roman Catholic background, and then I become this hardcore atheist / agnostic
Okay.
for a minute, and then atheist again. So, yeah.
So is that time while you were in the hospital, is that when you experienced your NDE?
It was, yeah. So
Okay.
at one point, I started getting messages of how to speak to those around me. I got a few messages. One was to make a scene, make it big, or you won't make it out. And I heard that, and I'm laying there in my bed, and I'm like, who is
Make a
talking to me?
scene, make it bigger, or you won't make it out.
Yeah.
Yes.
Wow.
And
Jinx.
I thought, well, I know, right? So, and I was in a Catholic hospital, so I thought, oh, I know how to make a scene in a Catholic hospital. No problem. FYI, I made a scene.
Okay.
And yeah. And then I got put into I fired the doctor who was taking care of me because that was part of my scene.
Yeah.
Ordering him with the F-bomb to get the F out.
In a Catholic hospital.
Yeah.
I looked like, are you kidding me? No, I'm not kidding. Get out. Get out now.
A lot of people don't
in that
even realize that, oh, I'm sorry to cut you off, but I was going to say, a lot of people don't even realize they can fire like a doctor, like just like you could hire and fire a lawyer. You could also fire your doctor.
It's true. I was never taught that. And when I've shared my story with people, years ago, and I shared that I'd fired my doctor, they said, what? You can do that? And I
Like
said,
they didn't even know that was the
absolutely.
thing, right? They didn't even realize that was something.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No. And you need to look out for yourself. If you're not getting the help that you need, then be your own advocate. So I had to be my own advocate.
Okay.
So that's what happened. Yeah. But then, once he got fired, things started to turn around for me. So finally, I had to threaten a nurse. Like, if you don't bring me another doctor, I'm going to have you fired. And I'm like, I'm just going
You were
off.
the Hellcat of the floor, right?
Oh yeah. People were listening and people were watching. And I'm thinking, they're coming by, popping their heads in. And what was happening in that moment was that I was absolutely fearful. So this is very important. I was extremely fearful because throughout my life, I'd been taught that I should fear what others think. I should fear God. I should fear, fear.
Yeah.
Just
there's a very strong fear
fear-based
narrative that's like sewn through religions and institutions and society. And
Absolutely. Yeah. So I had that going through me, and I was afraid I wasn't going to see my son again. I was afraid I was going to die and not be able to see my son. And so because I didn't believe in anything, I thought, oh my God, my whole life's going to stop right now. I want to see my son. I want to watch him grow. What am I going to do? And my body was becoming paralyzed. So I tried telling this doctor who I fired, look, I can't move my legs. I can't, I'm feeling it going up my body where I was becoming paralyzed.
Terrifying.
Oh, it was.
Oh my goodness.
And so, as I was firing him, I was shaking my bed rails, and I thought, holy God, I have to do something here. because this guy is
He's
not
gonna kill
taking me
me.
seriously.
He's gonna kill me.
He was. Yeah,
Yeah.
he really was. So my life changed. I changed the trajectory of my life by listening to the voice that came through me, which was heaven. Now looking back, that was heaven communicating to me. And who in heaven specifically, I don't know. But I've been asked, was it a man or a woman? Well, there's no man or woman unless you're an ex-human, in heaven. It's male or female, and I couldn't tell you if it was male or female. It was as though, thinking about that question now, it's like it was androgynous. It was cool.
Yeah.
Nice.
So, yeah.
So when you fired your doctor, you said that things got better for you, so your health improved?
No, it didn't improve. So it was getting worse.
Oh.
What happened was, I was I got a new doctor, right, who came in after threatening the nurse that I was going to fire her and I could be her mother and, so on and so forth. So this other doctor walks in, and this woman, I scanned her with my eyes. I'll never forget this because I couldn't move. And I was so afraid to talk. I thought, who's going to believe me? The guy that I just fired accused me of being a drug seeker because I kept describing this pain that I was in. I was in excruciating pain. I said, oh my God, this is worse than a Pitocin-induced labor. That's how I had my son. And I'm thinking, this is so painful. I don't know what to do, So I looked at her, and again, I heard the voice, and it said, you can relax. She knows what she's doing.
Oh, so you were getting advice and reassurance.
Okay.
Absolutely. So then I relaxed, and the woman looked at me, and she said, oh my God, she's gray, meaning my body. So what I later found out was that I'd gained 43 pounds of fluid in 3 days, and my body turned gray. I couldn't see myself.
Oh, wow.
I knew I was in pain, and I knew that my body was feeling really swollen, but I didn't know why.
Okay.
It was really...
Your organs shutting down, right?
Oof.
Yeah, 90% of my body shut down.
90%?
Wow.
Yes, 90% of my body. So it was really bad. And, this woman knew it was bad. And so she said, get her creatinine level. Has anybody checked her creatinine level? And in 4 days of being there, I think it was 4 days at that point, the nurse who I threatened to fire, she's looking through the notes and she goes, no. And she said, the doctor said, get her creatinine level checked right now, which is for kidneys. And so they got it back and they were like, oh my God, get her dialysis
Your
right
levels
now.
must have been like underneath the radar. Like they must have been almost not even readable.
Yeah. So she realized that I was in full-blown kidney failure. And she said, oh my God, she's dying.
Yeah.
Wow.
She's dying. So get her to dialysis. So when I got to dialysis, I was treated differently. I had to have blood transfusions because of the TTP, which is actually a blood disease. They don't know how I got it. They gave me all the tests. There's like 4 or 5 different ways you can get it. None of them applied to me. So I know this was a heaven thing.
Okay.
I know that it was the highest and holiest frequencies of love going, yeah, let's just get her attention completely. Knock her down. She has no other recourse but to come here and listen to us and get lessons and experience what love really is. So that's what happened. But after I had the blood transfusions, then I was on dialysis for, I think, 4 or 5 days. And right after the dialysis, it was followed by plasmapheresis. Okay. So that's the only thing that in I think it was 1976, that a doctor realized that plasmapheresis was the only way to help TTP patients survive. Because most people who got it, I think everybody who got it up until 1976, it was first, TTP-HUS was first discovered in the 1920s.
Okay.
And everybody until 1976 died, if I remember correctly from what I read.
The mortality rate was that high? Wow. What is that, like 100%?
Yeah, because you couldn't, they couldn't tell that you had it. It's a blood disease. You can't see your blood. You can't feel your
Okay.
platelets going down.
Right.
You know, you can't feel things that are happening. So anyway, it was after the plasmapheresis. That's when people started living. So that's why I had that after the dialysis.
Okay.
So once all of that started happening, that's when I walked through the clouds. I remember walking through the clouds, and here I am in this like beautiful park, the grass, the trees are around, you know, the blue sky up above, birds are flying, clouds in the sky. And oh, and there's Jesus standing over to my left under a tree. And I'm like, I go, oh my God, you really do exist. I mean, I remember it so clearly saying that to him. And he looked at me and he laughed and he goes, well, yeah, you know, and he opens up his arms and he says, you know, like inviting me to come give him a hug. So I gave him a hug.
Uh-huh.
And he said, then he kind of turned me sideways and he says, come on, we got a lot of work to do. And I said, yeah, I know. You're dealing with me. So
you're like, Jesus, you got your hands full. I hope you're ready.
yeah, that was my feeling exactly. And so I went with him and I met my other guides, and my other guides were Archangel Michael, Mother Mary, El Moria, and Saint Germain.
Those are
So
heavy
after meeting
hitters.
them,
Yeah.
oh yeah,
Those
they
are heavy
were.
hitters.
They were. And after meeting them, we went into a golden capsule where I had to watch my life review. And when you watch your life review, oh, yeah, that
I
is
have
an
always
experience.
been so fascinated
Yeah.
with this whole concept of life review because you know, I don't, it's just mind blowing. Like how is that like recorded? And then, you know, I've listened to so many NDEs. And by the way, thank you so much for being our first guest that
Yes.
has had an
Thank you.
NDE, because this is the first
Really?
first conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is the first time I'm getting to ask all the things that I've been harboring in my brain for all
Right.
these years.
Oh, ask away.
Okay, great. So what I've learned from listening to other people's NDEs and, you know, share your own experience on top of this, however you see fit, is that you just basically like, there's like a 360-degree screen. It's like full color. You experience what you did through other people. Like if we were having a life review right now, I would be experiencing me through his perspective of me. Right. So I don't know. It's just so mind blowing.
Yeah, so what happened was it's more like a movie screen in front of me, and
Okay.
how they use energy there, you don't plug something in with an outlet.
Okay.
It's energy. It's the power. Like I can't tell you how many times while I was there, I saw white light coming out of hands, okay? And like
more than
Archangel
just
Michael,
Jesus?
well, from Jesus and from Archangel Michael and from many others that I saw there. There was
okay.
one point where I was actually crying. I'm trying not to get back here to earth, trying to stay there in heaven.
Yeah.
And I was surrounded by archangel saints and ascended masters and all of these angels fluttering around. And everybody at one point, they would, at one at a time, they would raise their right hand and a white beam of light would come out and hit my soul.
What did that feel
And
like?
then-
And was this during the life review part, or this was during a separate?
No, this is way later. I was jumping way ahead because of what you just said.
Okay.
But anyway, so in that circle, finally at one point, everybody had lifted their hands and I felt the white beam of light, and it's love. That's all you feel is love. But I'll get to that later. Like, how would you describe love? So
you're
back
in your life review.
In my life review. And here I am watching my life play out before me. It's every second of every moment of this life. And anybody that you're with, in whatever circumstance it is, you will feel what they were feeling and you will hear what they were thinking in that moment.
Oh, Lordy. I don't know.
So, FYI, folks, have a conscience, because I'll tell you what, karma exists. As it turns out, karma is real, and reincarnation is real. And those are some things that, oh my God, look, I've had enough karma, and it's like, I mean, clearly not, because I'm still here, but reincarnation, this is my last life. Thankfully, I did find that out, because I chose 3 lives in this one. So some people have rougher lives than others. So I
Sure.
wondered, in my past, like, why does so and so have such an easy life? It's so monotone. You get up, you go to work, you have this wonderful family,
It just
everything's
happens.
given to
Everything's
you,
la-di-da.
right? Everything is just so perfect. And here I am going, oh, well, I had the car accident at age 9. My best friend and her mother died. That was my first near death experience.
Oh,
I like all these different things that happened in my life. And then here I am now, when this happened to me, I was 38 years old, a mother, and I'm going, oh my God, no way. This is just so intense.
mm.
And I didn't want to come back. There was a part of me that did not want to come back.
I've heard that a
Uh,
lot.
Yeah.
I've heard that a lot.
oh,
They're like, Earth, Earth, schmirth. I'm staying here. I'm gonna
yeah,
get comfy, Like,
you can keep it. I don't want to go back.
but a lot of
Forget
times,
it.
isn't the choice provided to you that like they show you if you stay here, this is what'll happen to your family without you, and if you like, don't they give you like a visual forecast of what your absence will mean to other people?
Well, I don't know about visual. I do remember. So after, I should just jump ahead to answer this question and
Okay,
help me stay on track on this.
sure.
But what happened was after leaving my life review, and there were quite a few times where they had to pause it and I was crying and throwing up. I mean, there were times I was laughing, because there were
Okay.
great memories too. But in the moments where they would, they would see me really upset, they would say, "This too shall pass." So at the end, they showed me something into the future, and I know they did because what I was crying, and I thought, "Oh my God!" And it was like I understood in that moment I had to come back,
Mm.
and
So
they
that's
said,
probably what I was just talking about, that little forecast of what happens if you stay, right?
"Oh, yes, but there's even more."
Oh,
So in that moment, it was like we were done watching my life review, and they said, "And how do you feel about this?" And I looked at them all, and I said, "This too shall pass." And they smiled, and they nodded their heads, and they said, "She understands." So then I was taken from there. I had to follow Archangel Michael into his golden capsule, and
Okay.
here's a guy. Well, he's a male,
mhm.
and 6'7", black, by the way, absolutely beautiful, and so incredibly powerful. Where I'm in his presence thinking, holy shit, this guy could take me like that. But he's one of my guides. Okay, we got through my life review. I'm kind of joking about this, but
Yeah.
seriously, I thought, okay, well, I mean, you know, I don't know. He knew I was an atheist and I had all of these horrible things to say about heaven and God and Jesus and
So was
Jesus
it an
Christ. But
so was it an awkward angel cab ride for you?
yeah, right. The angel.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. So I felt, yes, I felt, I did feel awkward because I didn't know what we were going to do. And so
Yeah.
here I was, naked in this capsule, which by the way is not a big thing there. And I'm going, okay. And I had to kneel down before him. And I can't remember if the angels, I've described it both ways, where the cherubs, there were two cherubs that came in and dressed me in what I call the white toga with the
Okay.
stole over my left shoulder down to my right hip
Hmm.
with the emblem of Earth with 7 fire flames coming out of it. So that was showing that I was a visitor from Earth. I can't remember if they got me dressed before he did what he did or after, but I remember it happening. And then I remember I had to kneel in front of Archangel Michael, who held his right hand up, and this white beam of light came out, hit me in my chest right here, which is where the soul is. And he said Psalm 91, the Aramaic version, over me. And this was so powerful.
Mm.
And so it turns out, FYI, he wrote that song.
Oh,
Okay. Archangel
Okay.
Michael wrote that song.
okay.
So whoever, wrote it on earth,
Mm-hmm.
it was, I don't know, it was either Archangel Michael writing it or it was Archangel Michael channeling through the individual who was writing it. So I really don't know. All I know is that
copyright.
angelic copyright. He wants copyright yeah, credit in heaven. So I started crying, and he said, Megan, why are you crying? And I said, oh my gosh, I said, I feel so bad. I said, I've been so mean about the things that I've said about you and God and Jesus and heaven. And I don't know what's going on, And he's like, he says, look, I'm not here to judge you. I'm here to love you.
Oh.
And yeah.
And now
wow is right.
I'm glad you said that word, because I've been thinking about that word this whole time, and I'm going to backtrack just a little bit back to the life review, if that's okay.
Perfect.
I was wondering, because being raised Catholic, you're always told that everything you do is being judged. Every time you make a mistake, you're condemned to hell. Like, just basically there's a very fear somebody's looking down on you and scrutinizing everything you're doing. So during your life review process, was there any judgment coming from any of the beings around you or not? It sounded like they were being more supportive, because a lot of people are afraid that when they die, they're going to get judged. God's going to be standing up there on the altar, looking over every little mistake, going, 10 years for that, 10 years for, like, in other words, giving you like sentences for every mistake you've made. But I would like for you to reframe that a little bit for us.
Yeah, two things that come to my mind as you just said that. And I'm going to share something that I'm just now starting to talk about.
Okay.
And on my podcast, I talk about it because I want women to know this. But to answer your question, the only person who is judging you as you're watching your life review is you. You're judging yourself. Okay. You're judging yourself. Now, backing up to what I shared with you, why I became an atheist was because of a rape. And as a result of the rape, I became pregnant from the rape. Well, I chose to have an abortion because it was about a month and a half before my 21st birthday. I didn't ask for this guy to do this to me. I didn't have a boyfriend. I didn't have birth control. There was nothing, you know?
You felt like all of your choices didn't even exist in the situation.
Correct. And so I made the decision. So fast forward, I get in after Archangel Michael. I'll just quickly do this. We leave his capsule because he says, come on, there's a lot of people who want to meet you. And I'm like, what are you talking about?
Like who?
Okay. Right. I had no idea. So we meet back up with Jesus, Mother Mary, Saint Germain, and El Moria. And then we all walk, and we're walking over this like little bridge. And then there's two cherubs that are on each side of this giant door that's on this white temple. It's literally a Jewish temple. I mean, and then there's a dome in the center. And so we get in there, and I'm sitting there, and I'm like, I should describe right now that when the door was opened and I finally walked in, I could feel this wave of love.
Just
my gosh.
wash over your whole existence, right?
Absolutely. It was the most beautiful feeling.
How
it was the most
was
beautiful.
It?
Incredible. I mean, I write about it in my book where it was just like jaw-dropping experience.
Is there any earthly experience that compares at all? Okay.
No. And I adore my son. Okay. So as a parent, I adore my son, and that is the deepest love that I've ever known on this planet.
Gotcha.
And even when I got to heaven, when I had that experience walking through the door, I was like, whoa, I've never felt anything like this.
Wow.
Ever.
Wow.
Ever. So, I sit down because Jesus pulls my chair out, and then he sits to my left, and then there's some old man sitting at the head of this table.
The idea of Jesus pulling a chair out for you is just like so cute.
After F-bombing him all of my life, right? And I'm like, I really feel like a shit now. But I mean, he was really cool. And then Archangel Michael was sitting to my right, and then all of these archangels, and then down to Goddess, and then I see Paramahansa Yogananda.
All just sitting at one big table.
At one big table, Prophet Muhammad, Mahatma Gandhi, Charan Singh, Sitting Bull, White Eagle, Kali. I mean, just you name it.
It's like all the really heavy hitters.
Yeah, they really were. And so here's this old guy talking, and I'm like, who is this guy? Everybody's listening to him.
Can you
And
not
all
see
I could
his
think of
face or
was, who is
something?
this guy?
Is
Huh?
it God?
Could you not see his face?
Oh yeah, well I could see him. I just
Oh.
had no
No
idea
idea who he
who
was.
he was.
Okay.
And
Sorry.
so I'm looking at him and I'm like, who is this guy? And he's talking and talking. And he said, and Megan will be going back to Earth. And as soon as I heard that, in my mind only, I said, oh, fuck. In my head only. And I thought, I can't get off that goddamn planet. Oh my God, you know? And so he stops talking and he looks directly at me and he said, oh, fuck is right, Megan.
God
And then
sent it back to you.
he said it back to me. And then I went, oh my God, Catholic Church kicked in. And I went, it's God. They always said he could hear your thoughts. Holy shit. And so I'm sitting there and I'm like, I'm so sorry, Your Holiness. And he could see I was awkward and I didn't know what to do. And everybody's just staring at me. No judgment.
I
They're
mean,
just
you're in a
staring.
room with only like, God and Jesus and ascended masters, that's all.
Right. Throwing the F-bomb in front of God, right? So here I am, and there were 77 of us sitting at the table, by the way, 77. So and everybody, when I say, like, do you remember I don't know, do you remember that commercial, E.F. Hutton is talking? And when E.F. Hutton talks, everybody listens. I know it's probably before you. Anyway,
Sorry.
So yeah, no, look it up. It was funny. Anyway,
Okay.
so that's what it was like. It's like everybody's listening. So I finally, he could see that I was really awkward. And he said, Megan, we all want you to feel comfortable. And I'm looking around like, what does that mean?
Yeah.
What does comfort mean?
Yeah.
I don't know how to feel comfortable. I'd never felt comfortable in my own skin,
Mm.
And so finally I relaxed. I put my arms back and we're all sitting in gold chairs, by the way, everybody at a golden table, FYI. So I put my arm back like this and I said, well, shit. And I'm just going to be myself.
Good for you.
Everybody started laughing, and Kuan Yin was there, Vishnu, Krishna, Lakshmi. Oh my God. So everybody who's anybody, on earth, I guess, was there for me.
Wow.
And so God said, and about that abortion.
Oh.
So getting back to that, that's when I thought, oh my God, I'm going to hell.
That's when
If
you
there's a
thought you
hell-
were like going to be stricken down somewhere to fiery flames, right?
Absolutely, because I thought, oh shit, I knew there'd be a catch here because
Mhm.
throughout my life, there's always like the shoe will drop. The shoe will drop,
Right.
And so I thought, oh, well, the shoe's going to drop now. It was too good to be true. Forget it. And he looks at me without me even saying anything. He said, I forgave you. He said, you can't kill a soul. What you did was you sent him back here to heaven. He said, you don't have the power to kill a soul. And he said, your son is now waiting for you back on
Wow.
earth. So my son was 4 at the time. And he says, that's who it was.
The
And
same
I was like,
soul?
yes, the
Wow.
same soul will come back to you.
Oh,
Okay.
woohoo, wow.
So, that's how I went, oh my gosh,
Wow.
Yeah. So I want women to know that, and men, right? Because
Yeah.
look, sometimes a man and a woman have to make that choice. This is, or whatever. I mean, for whatever reason, a choice is made. And
Right.
God is not going to send you to hell for it. Okay. So I am pro-choice.
I'm glad you
I
say
am.
that just
Yeah.
because I know somebody very, very personally close to me who's had an abortion, and she has told me, Allie, I'm afraid that when I die, that baby's just going to be sitting there waiting for me, like to, in other words, judge her
Judge you?
or yeah. And I'm just looking at her like, man, I don't know. I don't think that's how it works, but what
No.
you just said and what you just shared. And by the way,
Yeah.
thank you so much for being vulnerable and brave
Yeah,
enough
thank
to
you.
share that with us, especially since you said you just started talking about it. But thank you for sharing that, really, truly.
Yeah, absolutely. And God told me that he wanted me to talk about everything that we talked about in heaven, even if it was making me feel uncomfortable. So to honor him more, I have to keep moving forward and going, all right, this may, cause hairs to stand up on some people. And then for those it does not, I'm happy to help. I'm happy to be a voice for that, because no religion, okay, should condemn a woman or make a woman feel shamed or kill a woman for making that decision. So I don't want to get religious or anything, but I will get religious in the sense that you're not God. God is God. And if, the Christian quote is God is love. All right, let's just leave it at that. God is love. So that's what we need to follow, folks, is love.
Yes.
Okay. Now,
Yeah, I totally agree with that.
I'm glad. I'm so glad, because look, there needs to be more of us on this planet now, and especially now, because currently there's a war that's taking place in Israel and Gaza. Okay. Well, read up on it, folks. I don't know everything about it, but I will say that at this juncture in our life, this is a wake-up call for our world to step up and say, okay, shut the hate down. Shut it down. Archangel Michael is protecting Israel, as is heaven, okay, as is love. But love is protecting everybody, okay? And at this time, love or heaven, okay, is saying, all right, folks, how do you want to, how shall we say, redo what's being done currently? Because we're making you pick a lane. We're saying you're either going to continue on this battlefield of, killing and, rapes and murders and all of these horrible things, annihilating babies. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Hello.
I feel like the planet is being literally set up so that you have to either choose a path of light or choose the path that we've been on. It's like you gotta
There's always
pick a
this
side
duality.
kind of thing. Yeah, this Earth school is very dense. The energies are very intense, especially right now. You're always dealing with like a dualistic, polar kind of situation. But the reason why we even do this podcast to begin with is because we're trying to send that message of love. We're trying to let people know that there's like another way of existing, and you don't have to fall into the fear narrative.
Right.
And it's the Earth herself shifting from 3D to 5D consciousness. So you either align yourself with the good vibes and you ascend to 5D and you be that light worker, or you stay in the low dense vibes and you work through your timeline that way.
Yeah, you have to fill your heart with love and just let it spew out.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And, as a light worker, you need to claim and declare to our world and the universe and heaven that I am a vessel of love. I am utilizing this human body to be an example of love as you would have it done. Okay. For everybody. Love is the unifier. Love is what everybody desires. Love is what everybody seeks.
Love is what everybody's made of.
Absolutely. Love is the highest frequency, the highest energy that exists. So we are being given the opportunity as a humanity right now to choose a lane. Are we going to continue to kill? Are we going to continue to dominate with fear? Are we going to continue to, or are we going to choose the lane of love? Now, because we are human, and because, look, there is a hierarchy in heaven, okay?
Explain it to us. Break it down for me.
Okay, so the deal is this. There's God, there's goddess, okay? There's 1,000 archangels, and there are 1,000 angels. There are 243 saints and 348 ascended masters, okay? So Jesus is considered
you just gave us the stats of heaven. I like that.
Those are the stats. Those are the facts, ma'am. So Jesus is an ascended master, as is Prophet Muhammad. And I also believe, as is King David, by the way, but I think it's very important right now to tell people that seriously, Prophet Muhammad and Jesus are the same frequency of love. They were both messengers here on this planet. So back in there, one of the messages, I had to walk around the table at least 77 times because everybody had a message for me. And one that I remember so clearly, actually, there are three that I'm going to mention.
Okay.
First one was with Goddess. She was so beautiful. She was extraordinary. Her gentleness, her love. I mean, this was like a mothering love, a nurturing, an acceptance.
Total embodiment of feminine divine energy, right?
Absolutely.
Oh,
she was.
lovely.
And she was gorgeous.
Nice.
And she was wearing this crown that came up to a point here and came down and around like this. And there were 13 giant chunks of amethyst in her crown.
That's my
It was gorgeous.
birthstone.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Uh-huh.
So she was wearing that. And then I remember her looking at me. She was the first one to say it to me. She said, be yourself. It's okay to be yourself.
That's a simple but strong message, man.
Yeah.
Because so many people go
Oh.
through their life people pleasing and just trying to be who they think people
Right.
want them to be.
Right.
And
Absolutely.
yeah, that's a strong message.
Absolutely. Yes, it was. It's very powerful, and people need to know this. It's okay to be yourself. We're not here on this planet to please everybody. We are here to swim with others who are involved in their reincarnation,
Mhm.
okay?
Yeah.
And giving back. And basically, what we all are trying to do,
Mhm.
whether we consciously are aware of it at this time in our lives or not, which I am, as are you, where we are all going back to this path of love.
Mhm.
Because what we need to do, what our soul has agreed to do in being reincarnated, is establishing love and being an example of love on this planet to raise the frequency of love on this planet. Or this planet, humanity will become extinct. The Neanderthals
And the earth
became
will
extinct.
live on, man. We're not,
That's right.
the earth doesn't
earth
need us.
will
We
not
need
die.
her.
The earth's not going to die. It's not going to die. It's impossible. Dinosaurs became extinct. So think about who became extinct, and it's interesting. So the other message, the next message that I will share with you is 2 seats away to the right of Goddess was White Eagle. White Eagle wrote this book called The Quiet Mind, and it was like poetry by him. And my
Mhm.
very Catholic grandmother, when I was 14 or 15, had given me this book.
Oh, so it had
And I,
personal significance to you.
yeah,
And then you
it
meet
did.
you meet the author in heaven.
Right. All places, right? I didn't
know.
even think existed. So yeah, I'm standing there in front of him, and I'll never forget it. The moment he said it to me, he said, Megan, when you come across a feather, a white feather, it's not a tribal thing. He said, I want you to ask yourself, are you doing or are you being?
Mm.
And I'm standing there thinking, I remember thinking, oh my God, he wants me to answer the question, what's the right answer? And he looked at me and he says, no, just remember this question.
It's a self-reflective,
Yeah.
self-evaluative kind of pondering thing, right? Like for me, when you said that, it reminds me of something I say frequently, which is we're supposed to be human beings, not human doings. So many people, including myself, we're caught up in the rat race, 9-to-5 job, paying bills, only, you work to live, you live to work kind of thing.
Mhm.
It doesn't balance out in my book. So learning how to just be instead of trying to constantly be in control and managing the do was a
Right.
huge lesson. So
Yeah.
I can't believe you just said that.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'd like to just share what I'm thinking in this moment from what you just said
Mhm.
is that I'm doing here right now. I'm doing a
Thank you.
service
Yes.
on this planet with you, and you are doing the same thing. I am also
Yeah.
being myself. I am being an example of love.
Mhm.
Do I have the 9-to-5 job? Absolutely. I'm currently at the tail end of COVID. I'm still not feeling well. So I'm like, all right, Megan, you're going to bring love. That's it. It doesn't matter how you're feeling. Love is a constant, work. It's a constant work in heaven. That's why the vibration is so high in heaven of love, because it's constantly worked on. There is
Yeah.
prayer happening at all times. There is service to protect. So here in the United States, we have protect, serve, honor, right? We have these slogans. Well, that's what heaven's doing. That's what heaven's trying to do for this planet right now.
But we're making it so difficult.
We are, but I want to speak to souls who, if ever anybody comes across what we're talking about, and I'm very serious and I'm being very respectful, no one has lost their life on this planet for no reason. Okay? They have come, they have agreed before they were born. We all sign an agreement with God. And I didn't understand it because he had to show me. Megan, you signed an agreement with me because I asked him.
He showed you your soul contract?
He did.
Wow.
He did.
Oh my goodness.
And yes, and I said to him, why has my life been so difficult? My life has been very difficult.
You signed up for it. It's
exactly
written here. So
That's
what was
exactly
that like to realize, oh shit, I really did sign up for all of these things? Like, what was it like for you to review it and realize, like, you asked for it, literally?
Well, when he told me that, seeing as how I'd already thrown an F-bomb with him, I threw another one and I said, what the fuck was I thinking? And he looked at me and he said, you didn't want to reincarnate. And that's where
you were trying to pack all the lessons in this last go around on Earth.
Okay.
Yeah, and this is my third go around, by the way.
Okay.
So this is like, after this, I'm out, I don't know when that time's out. Peace out. I'm gone. But while I'm here on the, for the rest of my journey on this planet, I'm taking it very seriously. I'm holding absolute sacredness to what it is that I share with absolute seriousness and levity. I mean, you have to laugh at stuff. You have to, you have to look at every situation and go, well, it wasn't all that bad. I mean, literally, God's involved here. Or if you want to say Allah or Jeshua, you're right. Okay? Love is involved.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Love is involved. And love is bringing us with the sacrificing of these, what is really getting me are of these souls, these women and children that have been sacrificed again. And it's beyond tragic, okay? But they are to be the jolt. Unfortunately, they have chosen in this life to sacrifice themselves in this way, to be, and men as well, to sacrifice themselves to say, come on, humanity,
Wake
we
up.
need to wake up and be an example of love.
Yeah.
Because they're going to heaven, okay? They're going to heaven, and they're immediately met with love.
I was just reminded again of that Tool song where the lyrics go, wake up, child, remember, wake up, child, remember, we're all one light, we're all one face. I always pronounce the name wrong. How do you say it? Pneuma. The Tool song named Pneuma. Pneuma is how you spell it. If you've never heard it, look it up. It has a very, very conscious mindset in the way that the song was written out. It's all about waking up to who we truly are and remembering that we're all facets of the same source.
We are. And, the commonality, other than love, is that we all, the commonality I should say for the majority, is they believe in a God, or they believe in Jesus being God. Jesus is not God, by the way. Okay.
Right.
They're two different souls. And if you want to see God's face, his face is on the Shroud of Turin. And I just received an email. Yes.
The what?
I
feel like I want to Google that right now. Say that again. What?
The Shroud of
Turin. I know. Come on, Catholic, ex-Catholic girl. But the Shroud of Turin, I'm joking. I didn't know what it was in Catholic school. I didn't go to Catholic school, but I went to catechism and all this stuff. And I went to church, and I had my first Holy Communion confirmation. So they didn't teach us the Shroud of Turin. Right. So they don't teach us that. But what so the Shroud of Turin was what was wrapped around Jesus.
Oh, I know what that is
when
now.
he was-
Okay. I didn't know by the name, but I know by the concept.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm on
Yeah.
I'm on the
Yeah.
same page now. The
I
penny
knew you
dropped.
would be. I knew you would be. So that's God's face.
Mm.
So the reason
Okay.
that I know this is because about 11 years ago, I was laying in bed and I was watching National Geographic one night. And all of a sudden they're saying, and Jesus was wrapped with the Shroud of Turin. And the Shroud of Turin is currently in Italy, somewhere outside of a Catholic church in a glass encasement.
Mhm.
And I didn't know any of this. And I'm laying there watching it. And then they say that Jesus's face has been found on the Shroud of Turin. So all of a sudden they post this visual of what they were declaring to be Jesus's face. And I'm laying there by myself going, that's God's face. That's God's face
Not
Wow.
Jesus'
on the
face.
Shroud of Turin. It's not Jesus's face.
Oh.
And the reason that it was God's face and his eyes are closed
Mm-hmm.
is because he was sending a message to humanity by saying, I sent you love and you murdered him again.
Oh, heavy lesson
So-
for humanity. When are we going to get over this silly stuff that we do?
Yeah.
It's still playing
Right.
out today. It's still playing out. We're in November of 2023. We're almost at 2024 and we still are warring with each other. Like, come on, people,
Yeah.
do better.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes. It's imperative that we look at our history and look at what the common thread is.
Mhm.
There are lots of common threads here.
Mhm.
Okay. So the
Okay.
third message, I was going around the table, I'm standing next to God and he's seated. And I looked at him and he said to me, Megan, you're the driver in the car. You come to a fork in the road. He said, are you going to go to the left or are you going to go to the right? And I'm standing there again thinking like, oh my gosh, do I have to answer this? Right. And
Like,
he
talk
looks at
about
me
being
and
put
said,
on the spot, right?
totally. I was put on the spot completely.
By God.
And by God himself.
I
And so
Jeez.
I'm looking at him thinking, okay, so I better really think this question through. And he said, either way you go, he said, I'm the passenger. And I looked at him and I thought,
Wow.
wow. He said, I'm never leaving you.
Wow.
And
Wow,
then
that's powerful.
Yeah, that just
Yeah.
like struck me by like was wow. Okay.
absolutely. And then after we were done with this lesson, very respectfully, I looked at him and everybody, is sitting there at the table and they're all waiting for what I'm going to say. And I looked at God and I asked him very lovingly and respectfully, I said, may I touch your cheek?
Hmm.
And he looked at me and he said, yes. And so I remember I took my right hand to his left side. So to his left side, and I just touched his face like this. And then I pulled my hand back and I looked at him and I smiled and I said, now I can tell everybody I touched the face of God.
Wow.
And so I grew up in the 70s, right? I was a kid in the 70s. So there was this song by Al Jarreau called Mornin', Mornin'.
Okay.
And there's a line in there. Okay, it's a beautiful song, jazz. There's a line in there, and I touched the face of God. And when I heard it after my near-death experience,
You were
I welled up with tears. I was like, oh my God, I really did, And somebody shut me down years ago when I shared. What I mean is there was somebody I was talking to and I'd shared that I'd touched the face of God. And they said, well, that's impossible. That means you were dead. Nobody touches the face of God unless they're dead, unless they're dying. And so I said, well, I was dying.
You were dead.
I wasn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
But he allowed me to touch his face. No. It's impossible. It's impossible. So it's like I felt shut down. So I even had the insecurity going, oh, okay, well, I can't even talk about this. I can't even talk about it. Now I'm like looking at what's going on in our world right now. And I'm going, oh, who gives a fuck? Just say it. Because God told me, be uncomfortable and don't worry about it. You're telling the truth of what happened to you here.
Yeah.
You're telling the truth of what your truth is that you experienced in your near-death experience. No one gets them the same, okay? everybody feels love in their near-death experience. You feel love. I just so happened to see faces in bodies and the bar scene of Star Wars, as far as I'm concerned, because all these other planets are coming together on this one planet called Zephyr, which means heaven. And that's where heaven is. And so, you know, here's all of the souls that I'm seated with. Oh, and I saw Ganesh too. So, you know, think of Ganesh with the elephant face is how they have him depicted in India.
Is that
and
what he
here
looks
I
like?
am. Well, that's what I remember him as. But, you know, but he was also in this body, a human type body. So it's like, and then he loses the trunk on his face. So it's like he's showing me who he is.
Okay.
You know? So he was sitting there at the table, and I'm thinking to myself, oh, yeah, this is so much, you know? See, what happened to me, I really believe, like even just sharing with you and your audience about God's face being on the Shroud of Turin, who else has gotten that message? If anybody else has gotten the message, I don't know about it. I've never heard of it.
I've never heard of it
I'm
either, and I've listened to, I feel like, hundreds of NDEs at this point.
And I haven't. I think I've listened to a few, you know, but I think it's so important to share with people what it is that I know to be the truth. And if anybody wants to know what God looks like, there he is. That's the only picture that exists on earth.
Okay.
So take it for whatever
you heard
it's
it
worth.
here, folks. You heard it here first.
That's right. That's right. So getting back to, okay, so after I go through all of this in God's temple, I get into heaven, but I stay in a tent as a guest. So I was in this purple tent, and at one point I'm walking down a sidewalk in heaven, and I remember I'm looking down at the sidewalk, and I was in kidney failure at the time that this happened.
Okay.
I was in kidney failure. I was on dialysis and plasmapheresis. I was in a lot of pain. Okay.
Okay.
And all of a sudden, it's like I could see the shadow or something, but somehow I knew to look up because there was somebody walking directly in front of me. And I look up, and it's Freddie Mercury. And I'm like, oh my God, I've been a Queen fan since age 11, since they came to the US, okay? Yeah. So I'm looking at him, I'm like, holy God, oh fuck, this is Freddie Mercury, you know?
Oh my gosh.
Hello. So
I would have been fangirling too, no lie.
Totally. And I looked at him and I was like, oh my God, you're Freddie Mercury. And he smiles and he's like, yeah, you know. And he says, well, how are you? And he knew me, you know. And he goes, well, how are you doing? And I said, oh my God, I'm pleading with him. I said, I do not. I said, I'm in so much pain right now. I'm in kidney failure. I've got, you know, all this stuff going on. And he looks at me and he says, okay, well, do you want to go have some fun? And I said,
yeah, I do. Freddie Mercury. Let's fucking go.
Are we going to party, Freddie? Let's go. You know, I said, yeah, absolutely. So I went with him, and he turned around, and I kept walking straight, and we wound up in this amphitheater, this outdoor amphitheater, like going to a concert.
Heaven has an amphitheater.
Yeah, in heaven. And so somehow Freddie Mercury, he disappears. And I don't know what happened to him, but there's all of these other souls in white togas around me. And then the opening act was Spike Jones and Billy Barty. So after them was Cole Porter with Ella Fitzgerald. She sang, this was incredible. After that was the Queen Band. It was Rick James, Buddy Rich on drums. It was Marvin Gaye, Terry Kath from Chicago, and Freddie Mercury himself. Oh my God, I've never danced so much in my life.
Wow. And this was like was there other souls in attendance watching this concert, or was this all for you?
Yes. Well, I joke and say it was for me because the Queen, and Freddie Mercury was, you know, they were playing all these Queen songs, right? But Marvin Gaye played some of his songs from the 60s that he wrote.
Oh man,
and
my
I
mom used to
remember
play
that.
Marvin Gaye so much when I was a kid, man. She was obsessed with him.
Yes, yes, and think about who he was. I mean, he had a voice, and he was trying to bring peace through his music and
Mhm,
bring people to an understanding. And as Stevie Wonder wrote, "Bring you to a higher ground," because that was one
mm,
of his songs, "Higher Ground," which I
mhm,
really love, and people should listen to.
mhm.
Um, so it was really a collaboration. So after the concert, a bunch of us went back to my tent, and there was this huge golden table. Well, not actually, no, I don't. No, it wasn't gold. Actually, in my tent, it was not gold. There were golden cherubs. There was a huge table though, and there were golden cherubs that. Well, they come in and they start filling up the decanters and our wine glasses of red wine with red wine.
Okay.
And then there are these big baskets, but they were golden baskets. They were like a weaving of gold, okay? And there was bread in the basket. So it was wine and bread. This is so weird. Jesus was not sitting there.
Are we about
As
to
far as
take
I remember,
communion? Is like, what's happening here, right?
well, we were taking communion. Yeah, we were.
Oh,
And we were having fun and we were drinking. And so Freddie Mercury was sitting straight across from me. Terry Kath was directly next to him. Then it was Marvin Gaye, Rick James. I had all these
I'm Rick
archangels.
James. Fill in the blank.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
Sorry, I
he,
just had
he
to do
was
that.
he
I
was
wanted to do it before, but I held it in.
he was quite a ball of energy.
I can imagine.
He was. It was really it was amazing. So Ella Fitzgerald was there. Buddy Rich was really quiet. He was there. Billy Barty was there. So all of a sudden, we're all laughing and having fun, drinking and doing this whole thing. And then hundreds of cherubs, these angels, come into the tent and start lining the inside of this huge tent that we were in.
Hmm.
And it lit up. And all of a sudden walks in Prophet Muhammad. And we all, now I met him at God's table when I got to heaven, right?
Mhm.
So here he is for the second time. And we all stood up and we bowed. And he, in all seriousness, looks at us and does this, indicating to sit down. We all sit down and he looks directly in my eyes. And he said, I want you to go back and tell the world, I am praying for the Middle East. I am praying for the world. I am love.
That is
I
so
was
significant with what's happening right now.
And it's so powerful that you guys have asked me to be on your platform because it is very significant and we need to get this message out because
Yeah.
Prophet Muhammad, absolutely. Prophet Muhammad wants everybody to know that his truth is that he was here as a messenger of love for this planet. It was not about murder. But what he wants everybody to know, he was only here to show love.
Okay.
That's it.
Okay.
It was not about killing. It was not about anything of the sort. And he wants people to know he did write the Quran, but there is stuff that has been, let's say, altered
Mm.
because no killing is supposed to happen.
Okay.
Those are his words to me. And in all
Okay.
seriousness, that needs to be, and I say this respectfully to every Muslim, that I love Prophet Muhammad. I pray to Prophet Muhammad daily, okay, along with Jesus, along with God, along with Archangel Michael, along with all of these souls and Goddess. I mean, there are so many beautiful souls, but Prophet Muhammad was in heaven and I met him, okay? So when he said this to me at the table, everyone was just listening. And he stopped after his message to me, which I do write a little bit more about in my book. He said, I don't remember how I knew at that moment, or if he asked me if I had any question, but it was, I understood in that moment that I could say something to him.
Mhm.
So I said, Prophet Muhammad, I said, I don't understand why you want me to go back with your message. I'm an atheist of so many years and an ex-Catholic. I don't know anything about your religion. I know nothing. And I don't want to mess it up for you. And I don't want to be disrespectful. And I'm sorry, but I don't know what you want me to do.
Okay.
Why you want me to say anything?
What did he
And
say?
he looked at me and he responded immediately and he said, I have my ways. He said, oh,
How do
I'll
you
make
argue
things
with
happen.
that? How do you argue
can't.
with Prophet Muhammad, right? I
can't argue
mean,
with that.
No, you can't. You really can't. It's like looking at Jesus and going, yeah, no. How can you say no to Jesus, right?
Right.
Or looking at God and going, yeah, no.
Mm.
No, they really do exist. So when he left, because he looked at me and he said, put the book out. And I was like, okay.
What book?
Everybody in heaven kept saying, put the book out, the one that God ordered me to write in the very beginning.
Did you know at that time you were writing a book, or you hadn't even like that?
Well, God had informed me in the first 5 minutes after he told me,
okay.
you know,
Okay,
I'm
so
going back
they
to
all
Earth. He
had a
goes,
resounding message that they wanted you to send their message to other people writing this book and sharing your story on platforms like this.
Yes. And as a matter of fact, now that the second book, Love's Recipes is what it's called, that's coming out next week, I've got to tell you, I'm wondering if that's the book that he wanted out and that all of them wanted out, because they didn't give me a title.
Okay.
But
Oh,
Love's
right.
Recipes is all about love.
Mm.
It's all about love. And there are poems in there, and I used to call them thoughts for the day. So I titled them, but it's, there's one that's called Unity. There's one that's called Global Currency. There's one that's called Love's Understanding. There's so many. I mean, it's love's words. Okay. So I don't know if that's the book that Prophet Muhammad was referring to. But anyway, when he looked at me and he said, put the book out. And then he looked at me and he said, I must go now. Put the book out. Oh yeah. He said, I must go now. Put the book out. And then he turned around and he left the tent. And all of these angels that were fluttering, they followed him and they exited the tent. And every one of us, it was like a sobering moment when he came in. Literally, we were all sobered, right? We were sitting there. So when he left, I think it was Marvin Gaye who, I can't remember if it was Rick James or Marvin Gaye. I think it was Marvin Gaye who started talking and saying, Megan, there are so many things that we tried saying on Earth
that just didn't get heard, right?
It didn't get heard.
Went right over people's heads, like, whoop.
Yeah. And I have a podcast, and my friend who I do the podcast with, he even asked me, and I didn't even think about this, but because he asked me, he said, why do you think all these famous people met with you?
Mm-hmm.
Is it because you were married to somebody famous? Or is it because you just so happen to live, in this area where there was a lot of famous people?
Yeah.
And I was like, well, I don't know. And I kind of laughed about it and joked about it. But, thinking about what's going on in our world right now, I've got to say it's because what Marvin Gaye said to me, we all tried getting our messages out. So I'm embarrassed to say this. I should have known this, boom, when he asked me that. But listen, they were all trying to get their messages out. They were all trying to get their truths out. So he informed me of how difficult it was in the civil rights movement, as did Ella Fitzgerald.
Okay.
I mentioned Cole Porter, and somebody in some response to, a podcast or something that I did, they said, well, Cole Porter wasn't black. And I'm sitting there going, how did that turn into a black thing? Wait a second, this was a unification thing that was happening at the table. So all of these beautiful souls are saying their messages to me. Freddie Mercury said, it was not easy for me to transition in the height of my career from a heterosexual relationship into a homosexual relationship, but I loved. And I want people to know.
Love is love.
Absolutely. That's exactly the message. And he goes, I want people to know. Oh, they were all saying love is love. Love sees no color.
Right.
Okay. Love is not about who you love. Love is not a religion. And if any religion has anything to say, it should be, I love you. We've chosen to celebrate love in this manner.
Yeah.
But we are not God. We are not God. So then Billy Barty talked about what it was like being a little person on Earth and being made fun of in the 1920s when people would laugh while he was with his parents and they'd say, oh, put him in a circus. He said those things, those words to me in this meeting.
Oh, wow.
So I'm giving him a voice as well. So I was crying. I was crying, listening to all of them. And I said, I promise all of you, I will get your message heard. I will get your messages out.
Wow.
And they all looked at me and they said, please. They said, we were silenced.
Wow. And
So
I'm just feeling like so much gratitude and synchronicity right now because we reached out to you. You could have ignored me and told me to go scratch. You couldn't, but instead you said yes. Here we are having this conversation. You're doing what they wanted you to do. They asked you to spread their message, and here we are doing it. So again, I'm just like really thankful for this opportunity. And I wanted to thank you for sharing all of these stories with us. We only have a few minutes left because we do have another thing we need to do at 9 o'clock. But I wanted to give you your chance to ask your question.
Oh, yeah. Okay. What is your greatest hope for the future of humanity?
Okay, my greatest hope is, as a humanity, we need to change the mandatory teaching skills in our schools for children across the world. Okay? We need to start teaching love, and love, if it's not being taught at home, needs to be taught with the word empathy.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
Because with empathy comes love, comes understanding, comes kindness. And every single year that our children from preschool on through college, these children are reliant on their teachers. And as long as that brain, our human brain, is not fully formed until the age of 25, I believe, if I remember correctly, we have a responsibility as leaders, as guardians, as parents, as grandparents, as siblings, as cousins, whatever it is. We have the responsibility to teach children how to behave with kindness and love to one another. And the main message that God, and I can't even believe I didn't remember this, but everything happens in its time.
Sure.
God, Jesus, Archangel Michael, Prophet Muhammad, everybody in heaven kept saying to me, acceptance is synonymous with love. So let those words fill your soul.
Acceptance
This is what I wish.
Is synonymous with love.
Yes.
I received it.
Beautiful. And this is what I hope for our world to learn. And this is why I'm really on a mission right now. There's so much more I can share about heaven. There truly is. And if ever you want to reach out to me again, or
we'll definitely do a part 2.
Yeah.
Please, I'm happy to do it because there's more I can share with you. But that is my wish, to answer your question, Justin, that love be taught, and that our schools, rather than erasing our history, that we start a new history based upon our old history of what didn't necessarily work. Now, I'd also like to interject here before we go that I was asked, I forget what the question was. Here it is.
Ding,
so
ding,
I
ding.
said to her, ding, 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 it came in.
Right on time.
Here it is.
All right.
She said, what is your message? I said, all right, listen, I don't even know if I said it like this, but here's the gist of it.
Gotcha.
I'm an ex-Catholic and I'm an ex-atheist. I serve love, okay? So why is humanity waiting for the second coming of Christ? Why is humanity not holding themselves accountable to be the example of love on this planet that we need to be for one another? Why do we have to wait for what a church is telling you is going to happen?
Right.
Start behaving in a Christ-like manner. Start behaving in a Prophet Muhammad manner. And I'm talking love, because each of those souls to me in heaven, neither of which I believed in, Prophet Muhammad I knew nothing about until my near-death experience. They were only examples of love. So, and I also shared with her this. The second coming of Christ has already happened. FYI, it was Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And as I was sitting watching these different history videos with Jesus, just Jesus and I alone. I had to watch the Native Americans get annihilated, the World War II, and then I had to watch the Civil Rights Movement. And when Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was assassinated, I looked at Jesus immediately and I said, "Oh my God, we murdered you twice."
Oh,
And he said,
wow.
"That is so."
Wow. But I really
was so
love your
heavy.
message, though, because I feel like Christ's message has been so twisted and construed because
Yeah,
I
to
think,
something of fear.
right, I think he was just basically telling us, like, embody Christ consciousness yourself. You know, you don't need to seek external, like, there's no separation between you and God. So the more you go inward, the more you can work on yourself, the more you can embody that Christ consciousness and just exude
Embody
love,
love. Yeah.
exude acceptance, walk through life literally treating other people the way you would want to be treated, because essentially they're just fractals of you anyway. So I love that you shared that message with us and that they wanted you to share that message with us.
Yes, absolutely. And thank you so much. And really, my life was changed by that near-death experience. And if ever, you want to have me back and talk and
Yeah.
ask more questions or whatever,
Yes.
please reach
Okay.
out to me. I'm so
Great.
happy to do it because you guys are great. And I
Aw,
applaud
thank
you
Thank you.
for bringing the platform for others to share love and
Yeah.
their truths.
Right.
Hey, as long as you're not harming anybody, come on.
Right.
There's a channel for everybody, so to speak.
Right. And thank you so much for joining the Hello Alley Discord server, because we strive to keep this a really safe space where the soul family
Yeah.
can just hang out and
Yeah.
support each other and love each other. So feel free to hang out. Like, don't leave. Don't go anywhere, because I'm sure that our family, our community is going to want to interact with you. So figure out how to use Discord. If you need me to send you more how-to videos, I would be happy to.
I couldn't get it. And then when I got on your channel, I was like, what do I do?
Yeah,
Like, what do I
there's
do?
definitely a
Right.
learning curve to Discord, but once you figure it out, it's a cool
Okay.
place to be.
Yeah.
No worries.
Yeah, and there's
Okay.
tons of people
Well,
on there that would love to talk to you.
For sure.
Yeah, and if anybody wants readings or messages from heaven, because that's what they are,
Yeah.
reach out to me. So
Tell people how to do that. How would you like them to contact you?
they can go to, right now, I have an email address. It's malekalphaomega@icloud.com. It's MALEC.
Oops.
Thank you.
Uh-huh.
MALEC, the word alpha, the word omega @icloud.com. Beginning and ending, right?
Mhm.
So, they can go there. They can ask me questions about heaven. They can inquire about readings. They can, whatever they want. I also am a medium. I can connect to souls on the other side as well. So grandmothers, loved ones, children, husbands, wives, whatever. I can do that as well. I have connected with animals. Yesterday, as a matter of fact, I did a reading for a woman who her dog had just recently passed.
Mhm.
So her dog came through. And yes, I can connect with animals as well.
I love
Yeah.
that. I love
Yeah,
that.
me too.
That's I'm an animal
Yeah.
advocate, so like
Yes.
for me, that's just confirmation. I love it. Thank you so much. I really enjoyed spending
Thank
time
you
with
both.
you guys. Thank you
Yeah.
both so much for sitting here and sharing your energy and your thoughts and your ideas. Like you said,
Yep.
we just scratched the surface, so we'll definitely be in contact for a second
Oh
part.
yeah. Oh yeah. This was a great conversation. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you both. Thank you, Justin. Thank you,
Yes.
Allie. I really appreciate it.
And thank you,
Have a
Megan.
beautiful
You too.
Thank you.
And thank you to
All right.
our audience who's
Yeah.
tuned in to watch this. Please do us a favor while you're here. Hit that like button, hit subscribe, hit the notification bell, share this video with your family and friends, and help us to share heaven's message
Yeah.
of the importance of love and acceptance.
Yes.
Namaste.
Namaste.
Namaste.